You might feel that you have experienced everything that arcade games have to offer. But trust us when we tell you that Japanese arcades during their golden years featured some of the wildest games you might have never heard of. These games weren't just absurd or bizarre from a gameplay or mechanics standpoint. Oftentimes, they were built on concepts or ideas that seemed downright obnoxious or crazy, but somehow they managed to make it fun. So today, we're taking a trip back in time to explore 50 of the wildest arcade games Japan ever created. But before we get started, like this video and subscribe to our channel for more gaming goodness. Now buckle up because this is going to be a ride you'll never forget. Dencha Dego, 97. Taito. Kicking off this wild ride, we have Dencha Dego, a fever dream of a game that lets you play as the captain of a speeding train gliding through the bustling streets of Tokyo. Released in 1997 by Taito, this train simulation game was a surprising hit in an arcade world dominated by fighters and racers. Instead of throwing punches or burning rubber, Dencha Dego asked players to master the art of punctuality and precision. It's like being a train conductor, but without the paycheck or the stress of angry commuters yelling at you. The heart of the game lies in its gameplay, which challenges you to balance speed with safety. You're tasked with driving a train along real-life Japanese rail lines like the Yamanote Line and Keihin Tohoku Line, sticking to strict schedules while managing speed limits and station stops. Overshoot a platform by even a few centimeters? Penalty. Arrive late? Penalty. Forget to honk your horn at a crossing? You guessed it, penalty. The game's unforgiving mechanics make it less about speed and more about finesse. Bonus points are awarded for smooth stops and timely arrival, so perfectionists will feel right at home. What makes Dencha Dego memorable isn't just its unique concept, but its dedication to realism. The arcade version featured an elaborate control panel that mimicked real train controls, complete with levers and gauges. Designer Akira Saito poured his love for trains into every detail, even traveling to stations for last-minute tweaks. Critics loved its authenticity, and later it spawned sequel and spin-off, cementing its legacy as one of Japan's quirkiest gaming franchises.
2, 1.
Prop Cycle, 986, Namco. The next game in our list is unlike any game you have ever seen or played because it not only exhausts your mind, but is also a full cardio workout for your body. And Prop Cycle, released in 1996 by Namco, is one of those quirky arcade experiments that defies all the usual racing game tropes in favor of something entirely off the beaten track. It's part video game, part cardio workout, and all kinds of ridiculous fun. The premise is delightfully bonkers. You're a pilot, tasked with saving a magical kingdom that's been overrun by floating balloons. Yes, balloons. Your weapon? A pedal-powered propeller bike that lets you soar through the sky. The goal is simple. Pop all the balloons scattered across various landscapes before time runs out. But don't let the whimsical concept fool you. This game requires serious coordination and stamina. You control altitude by pedaling harder or softer and steer using the handlebar. It's basically a flying simulator for people who skipped leg day. Prop Cycle is remembered because of its absurdity. The arcade cabinet features an actual exercise bike, turning the game into a full-body experience. Players would leave sweaty but exhilarated, feeling like they'd just conquered the Tour de France in a fantasy world. The graphics were surprisingly polished for the time, with lush environments ranging from serene valleys to treacherous canyons. While it didn't spawn sequels or a cult following, Prop Cycle remains a quirky relic of the 90s, a reminder that sometimes gaming is best served with a side of physical exhaustion. Tao No Tatsujin, 2001, Namco. Back when arcades were ruled by action game, Tao No Tatsujin came as a breath of fresh air that took the rhyme game genre to new heights, becoming a cultural phenomenon in Japan and beyond. The gameplay is simple. You're handed 2 drumsticks and tasked with hitting a taiko drum in sync with on-screen prompts. Red circles mean striking the drum's center, blue circles call for rim hit, and the pace ramps up until your arms feel like they're auditioning for a percussion marathon. The genius of Tao No Tatsujin lies in its soundtrack. From J-pop chart toppers to classical symphonies and even quirky anime themes, the game offered something for everyone. The arcade cabinet itself was an eye-catcher, a giant taiko drum that practically dared passers-by to give it a go. Moreover, this game also featured a multiplayer mode, turning friendly matches into chaotic drumming duels. What sets Tao No Tatsujin apart is its universal appeal. Whether you're a seasoned musician or someone who's never touched an instrument, Tao No Tatsujin makes you feel like a rock star, or maybe a festival performer. Apart from its arcade version, this game was released on multiple consoles like Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 2, Wii, and many more. Its cult following is still going strong even today, especially in Japan. Unga Bunga, 2001, TAF system. This game is as wild as it gets, and we never thought something like this would even exist, but it does, and we are not complaining. Released in 2001 by South Korea's TAF system, this arcade game is infamous for its unapologetically strange concept, punishing virtual characters by spanking or performing kancho, a prank involving poking someone in the rear with 2 fingers. Yes, you read that right. You can basically execute Kakashi's infamous 1,000 years of death on ex-boyfriends, gangsters, mother-in-laws, and even child molesters. The cabinet for this game is even more insane. It features a model of a human posterior and a plastic finger for players to exact their peculiar brand of justice. Players select a character who has supposedly wronged them and proceed to punish them via the embedded posterior. The harder you spank or poke, the more exaggerated their facial expressions become on the screen. Nail the timing and intensity, and you'll be rewarded with a printed card detailing your sexual behavior rating, and if you're really on point, a small plastic trophy resembling a pile of, well, feces. Bonga Bonga was marketed as stress relief for city dwellers, but quickly became infamous online for its bizarre mechanics and questionable taste. Despite plans to distribute 200 units in Japan, only 5 ever made it to market. Today it's less a game and more a relic of gaming history's weirdest chapter. Chabuishi, 2009. Taito. Arcade games are often about escapism, saving princesses, racing cars, or battling alien. But Chabuishi flips that idea quite literally. Released by Taito in 2009, this quirky gem lets players channel their inner rage by slamming and flipping a plastic table in increasingly absurd scenarios. Inspired by the Japanese idiom Chabuishi, which refers to flipping a tea table in frustration, the game transforms this act of domestic chaos into a high-scoring spectacle. The game's premise is devilishly simple, yet utterly satisfying. You approach a specially designed cabinet that mimics a modest dinner table, and with a well-timed button press and physical exertion, you send it flying in a perfectly simulated table flip spectacle. The harder and more dramatic the flip, the more objects, plates, papers, people go flying across the screen, earning you points for destruction. Scenarios range from relatable to outright ridiculous. A stressed out office worker snapping at his desk, a bride losing it at her wedding, or even a guest at a host club flipping tables in style. Timing your slam and flip to maximize collateral damage is key to racking up high scores. What makes Chabuishi unforgettable isn't just its bizarre concept, but its unapologetic embrace of chaos. The game's physical table peripheral adds an immersive touch that's rare in arcade gaming. Critics hailed it as one of the most eccentric stress relief games ever made, and its sequel doubled down on the madness with even wilder scenarios like flipping coffins at funerals. Puly Rua, 91. Taito. Take a stroll through Radish Land, a world where time flows smoothly thanks to magical keys, until one gets stolen and everything goes haywire. That's the setup for Puly Rua, Taito's 1991 arcade beat-em-up that's equal parts whimsical and downright bizarre. On paper, it sounds like your standard hero's journey. Two kids, Zack and Mel, armed with magic wands, must restore the flow of time by defeating enemies and retrieving the stolen key. But once you dive in, you realize this is no ordinary adventure. It's a fever dream wrapped in pixel art. The gameplay is a delightful cocktail of rapid-fire challenges and lateral thinking. 1 minute, you're weaving through a barrage of eccentric obstacles with reflexes honed to perfection, and the next, you're deciphering mind-boggling puzzles that defy conventional wisdom. Every level presents its own unique flavor. Each stage is peppered with outlandish power-ups, unexpected enemy patterns, and a soundtrack that's as groovy and unpredictable as the game's visuals. Taito's bold design invites you to relinquish all pretense of seriousness, urging you instead to relish the quirky, frenetic energy of every jump, dash, and occasional facepalm moment. Despite flying under the mainstream radar, Puly Rua has earned a cult following among arcade aficionados who appreciate its inventive blend of platform action and surreal puzzle solving. It stands as a vibrant reminder of an era when arcade games weren't afraid to break the mold and let creativity run wildly free. Ninja Baseball Batman, 1993 IREM. You might have guessed it from the name itself. This game features ninjas wielding baseball bats instead of traditional shuriken. While the concept might sound a bit weird, it was actually a delight to see this weird combo on screen. The plot is simple. The commissioner of baseball sends 4 cyborg ninja athletes, each named after a color and armed with baseball gear, to retrieve priceless artifacts stolen from the Baseball Hall of Fame. Along the way, they encounter weird enemies, like walking baseballs, sentient gloves, and pitching machines gone rogue. The gameplay mixes precision combat with the unexpected twist of using a bat as your primary weapon. Each swing not only sends adversaries flying, but also punctuates the game's irreverent humor and over-the-top style. It's a delightful collision of genres that makes you wonder if you're playing a traditional beat-em-up or enjoying a surreal baseball slugfest. Moreover, there's also cooperative play for up to 4 players that turns the chaos up to 11, filling the screen with frantic action and over-the-top special attacks. Despite its polished gameplay and outrageous charm, Ninja Baseball Batman wasn't a massive commercial success upon release, particularly outside Japan. Yet, its sheer bonkers creativity earned it a dedicated cult following over the years. Trio the Punch, Never Forget Me, 1990, Data East. Some games are ambitious, others are groundbreaking, and then there's Trio the Punch, Never Forget Me, a game that feels like it was designed on a dare. Released by Data East in 1990, this beat-em-up is remembered for its absurdity rather than the gameplay. The setup is simple. You pick one of 3 heroes, Kamakura-kun, a ninja who flings shurikens, Santos, a claw-wielding street brawler, or Rose Sub, a barbarian straight out of a Conan knockoff, and fight your way through 35 increasingly bizarre levels. But simplicity ends there. The enemies range from cursed sheep to Colonel Sanders lookalikes, and the bosses? They include a giant Stonefoot and Karnov, Data East's mascot, carried by 4 miniature versions of himself. Between stages, Master Chin, a roulette-loving old man, pops up to shout, "Lucky cha-cha-cha," while handing out random power-ups or penalties. The gameplay itself is functional, but unremarkable. Standard side-scrolling combat with occasional platforming and magic attack. But the sheer randomness of it all takes the experience to a whole new level. Levels shift from tropical jungles to urban cities to medieval Japan with no rhyme or reason. Even the game's cryptic ending involves fighting defenseless animals in a park while ominous eyes stare from below. Trio the Punch wasn't built to be great. It was built to be weird, and in that, it succeeds spectacularly. Sexy Parodiius, 1996, Konami. When a game's title has the word sexy in it, you know you're in for something unusual. Sexy Parodiius, the fifth installment in Konami's Parodiius series, takes the already absurd parody of Gradius and dials up the weirdness with risque humor, outrageous visuals, and gameplay that's as chaotic as it is addictive. Released in 1996, this horizontal scrolling shooter is equal parts satire and spectacle, blending classic shmup mechanics with a heaping dose of irreverence. The story, if you can call it that, involves a ragtag agency of heroes, including penguins, bunny girls, and sentient spacecraft, taking on missions to solve problems for clients. These missions range from collecting coins to defeating specific enemies, and your success determines which stage you'll tackle next. Fail a mission? No problem. You'll just end up on an alternate path with completely different bosses and layout. The branching routes add replayability to what is already a visually overwhelming experience. The gameplay itself is a frenetic cocktail of dodging enemy fire, unleashing whimsical power-ups, and cleverly crafted stages that are both a test of agility and a source of amusement. The levels are packed with over-the-top enemies like giant mermaids and anthropomorphic food, and bosses that range from hilarious to borderline NSFW. It's all wrapped in a soundtrack that mixes classical remixes with quirky original tune. For fans of shmups, or anyone who appreciates games that don't take themselves too seriously, this is a must-play oddity from Konami's golden era. The Outfoxies, 1995, Namco. In the mid-90s, when 3D fighters were all the rage, Namco decided to launch the Outfoxies, a 2D fighting game that puts you straight in the middle of a cat-and-mouse chase between assassins who are out for blood. Released in 1995, this arcade gem was designed by Masateru Umeda, who would later create Dancing Eyes. Despite being overshadowed by the likes of Capcom and SNK, the Outfoxies has since earned a cult following for its unique blend of action and absurdity. The premise is delightfully twisted. Mr. Acme hires 7 assassins to eliminate wealthy art collectors. But here's the kicker. After the job, Acme arranges for the hitmen to kill each other to avoid paying their fees. The game's roster is as eclectic as its plot, featuring characters like John Smith, a mercenary, Betty Doe, a businesswoman, Professor Ching, a wheelchair-bound scientist, and even a tuxedoed chimp named Dweeb. Each assassin has unique ability, from deflecting bullets with a wheelchair to jumping higher than your average hitman. Gameplay in the Outfoxies is a chaotic ballet of violence. Players navigate large, multi-leveled arenas using an 8-way joystick and 2 buttons for attacking and jumping. Stages are active participants in the fight, with dynamic events like bombs going off or buildings crumbling. Weapons are scattered throughout, ranging from firearms to bizarre items like hot soup or pies. While the Outfoxies didn't make a splash upon release, its influence is undeniable. Critics now recognize it as a precursor to arena-based fighting games like Super Smash Bros., offering a wild and unpredictable experience. The Irritating Maze, 1997. SNK Saurus. Almost all arcade games are created for gamers to have a fun time, but the Irritating Maze was strictly against the idea of fun. Released in 1997 and by SNK and Saurus, this game doesn't care about your happiness. It thrives on your frustration. Based on a Japanese TV game show, Darrow, it challenges players to guide a small metal ball through a series of increasingly devious mazes without touching the edges. The gameplay is as straightforward as it is maddening. Using a trackball controller, you carefully maneuver the ball through narrow paths riddled with traps like moving walls, spinning blades, and sudden gusts of wind. The slightest misstep causes the ball to hit the edge, triggering an obnoxiously loud buzzer and forcing you to start over. To make things worse, or better, depending on your tolerance for chaos, the arcade cabinet blows air at your face every time you mess up, an extra layer of humiliation for good measure. The combination of precise controls, punishing difficulty, and sensory overload creates an experience that's equal parts addictive and infuriating. It's the kind of game that makes you want to rage quit, but keeps pulling you back for just one more try.
I love you.
Gal's Panic, 1990, Kaneko. For this next title, we are diving into some uncharted territory. Have you ever wondered what happens when you take the gameplay of chicks and sprinkle in a dash of risque humor? You get Gal's Panic, Kaneko's 1990 arcade puzzler that dared to mix strategy with cheeky adult theme. While the concept might raise eyebrows today, it was undeniably bold for its time, turning heads in arcades across Japan and beyond. The game's premise is simple. Players reveal images of swimsuit-clad models by cutting away portions of the screen while dodging enemies. The gameplay revolves around precision and risk. Using a joystick, players guide a cursor to carve out sections of the screen while avoiding enemies like spiders, flames, and bizarre rotating shape. The challenge lies in revealing at least 8% of the image before time runs out, or the enemies catch up. Adding to the tension is a bar at the top of the screen that shifts between revealing the model or a monstrous version of her if you take too long, a devilish twist that keeps players on edge. Each level in this game ramps up difficulty, testing your reflexes and strategy while offering quirky rewards like roulette minigames and bonus points. Though controversial, its unique blend of puzzle mechanics and eccentric design cemented its place as an arcade oddity worth remembering. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, 1993, Sega. Whom do you turn to when children are kidnapped and need rescuing? Well, Michael Jackson, of course. No matter how absurd that might sound, this was the premise of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Combining Jackson's iconic moves, his music, and a touch of sci-fi absurdity, it was a bold experiment in merging pop culture with gaming. You play as MJ, as he rescues kidnapped children from the villainous Mr. Big. Armed with magic powers instead of fists, Jackson moonwalks through isometric level, firing energy bursts at enemies and performing spinning melee attacks for close combat. The pièce de resistance is the dance magic special move. Triggering it makes all enemies on screen join Michael in an impromptu dance routine before collapsing in defeat. And yes, even robotic dogs aren't immune to the groove. Collecting Bubble, the chimp transforms Michael into Robo Jackson, a laser-shooting powerhouse capable of taking down waves of enemies and bosses with ease. Moonwalker's soundtrack makes it genuinely unforgettable, featuring instrumental versions of hits like Smooth Criminal and Beat It. Each level feels like stepping into a surreal music video, blending gameplay with Jackson's larger-than-life persona. Though the game received mixed reviews for its mechanics, its audacious concept and unique execution have cemented its place as one of gaming's most memorable celebrity collaborations. Bishi Champ, 1996, Konami. Released by Konami in 1996, this wild party game is a glorious mashup of absurdity, speed, and button-mashing chaos. It's not just a game, it's an experience that turns every player into a frenzied competitor, laughing hysterically while trying to keep up with its ridiculous challenges. The setup is simple. Up to 6 players compete in lightning-fast mini-games using 3 massive buttons: red, green, and blue. Each game explains its rules beforehand, but don't expect much downtime. The action is relentless. Mini-games range from smashing buttons to destroy cars, Car Destroyer, to pogo-sticking bodybuilders leaping for meat, Jump for the Meat. Some games parody arcade classics like Pac-Man, while others are hilariously original, like growing an afro by dancing in rhythm, Mania. The sheer unpredictable nature of Bishi Champ is what makes it so memorable. No two games feel alike, and the quirky humor keeps players laughing even as they frantically mash buttons. Its simplicity makes it accessible to newcomers, while its competitive edge ensures seasoned players stay hooked. Whether you're playing solo or with friends, this game transforms any arcade session into a high-energy spectacle. Dancing Eyes, 1996 Namco. Namco, often associated with wholesome classics, dipped its toes into decidedly weirder waters with 1996's Dancing Eyes. Crafted by Masateru Umeda, known for the chaotic fighter the Outfoxies, this arcade puzzler presented a concept both simple and eyebrow-raising. Guide a monkey, Urusu-san, around 3D objects to remove surface tiles. The twist? Most of the time, those tiles constituted the clothing of polygonal women, making the core gameplay loop one of systematic disrobing. The mechanics borrow heavily from classics like Cheeks and Amidar. Players trace lines around grid sections covering the 3D model, complete a shape, and the tiles vanish. All the while, enemies patrol the grid, requiring careful maneuvering to avoid losing a life. Power-ups offer temporary advantages, like speed boosts. While undressing female models was the main event, the game occasionally threw in bizarre palette cleansers, like freeing a bodybuilder from a cobra or dismantling a UFO. Completing a level treated players to a showtime where the revealed model would pose or dance, with camera controls allowing players to get a closer look. Though controversial and ultimately seeing a planned PS3 remake cancelled, Dancing Eyes remains a fascinating, oddball relic from Namco's more experimental arcade phase. Waku Waku 7, 1996. Sunsoft. Ever wondered what if Dragon Ball Z had a roster of weird and uncanny characters? Well, Waku Waku 7 would be the result. This wasn't just another Street Fighter clone. It was a love letter to the genre with a roster of characters so bizarre they made other fighters look tame. The plot revolves around 7 fighters battling for control of the mythical Waku Waku balls, which grant wishes when collected. The roster is where Waku Waku 7 truly shines, featuring parodies of popular anime and video game tropes. From standard Shadow characters to oddballs like Polytank Z, a mecha piloted by a dog and a human, the game is a visual and conceptual feast. Gameplay introduces innovative mechanics like Hara Hara attacks, unblockable super moves that require charging, adding tension to matches. Characters can be launched across the screen, bouncing off walls for potential combos. The vibrant visuals and catchy soundtrack by Masato Arakawa complement the zany action. While not mainstream, Waku Waku 7 has a devoted cult following. Its unique blend of humor, mechanics, and audacity earned it a special place in fighting game history. King of the Monsters, 1990, SNK. King of the Monsters is an explosive throwback to the giant monster mayhem of the early 90s. Forget subtlety. This game is all about suplexing radioactive beasts through skyscrapers while military tanks futilely pepper your ankles. It's WWF meets Rampage, with a side of kaiju camp that only the 90s could deliver. Players choose from 6 monsters: Gion, Godzilla's lawsuit-dodging cousin, Wu, Kong with attitude, and others, to grapple, punch, and pile-drive rivals across destructible Japanese cities. The goal? Pin foes after draining their health, all while raising every building, bridge, and Danzig-branded billboard in sight. Combat hinges on button-mashing grapples and timed specials, with chaos amplified in 2v2 co-op mode. The charm lies in its unapologetic simplicity. Cities crumble underfoot, tanks explode into confetti, and victory poses are gloriously cheesy. While the combat lacks depth, all characters share moves except projectiles. The catharsis of reducing Tokyo to smoldering ash never gets old. Critics called it repetitive, but fans embraced its chaotic spirit, especially with friends and a six-pack. Decades later, King of the Monsters remains a neon-soaked relic of arcade excess. It's not deep, but where else can you German suplex a toxic waste monster as bystanders flee in pixelated terror. Pure, dumb fun. Boogie Wings, 1992. Data East. Boogie Wings is one of those non-stop adrenaline rushers from Data East that'll have you grinning like a kid on a sugar high every time you boot it up. Also known as the Great Ragtime Show in Japan, this horizontal shmup pits players against an army of mech-wielding scientists in a world that feels like Metal Slug crashed a steampunk convention. It's less about precise dogfighting and more about causing maximum mayhem with whatever junk you can find. The standout feature? Your biplane sports a grappling hook that snags enemies, scenery, and even dinosaur skeletons. These captured objects become makeshift weapons, swung wildly or dropped onto unsuspecting foes. Even better, if your plane takes too much damage, you don't explode, you bail out. The pilot continues on foot, running, jumping, and commandeering bizarre vehicles like bikes, elephants, or pogo sticks until a new plane arrives. The level design is just as unhinged, featuring stages in museums, theme parks, with roller coaster tracks, and even a Christmas wonderland where you battle a giant, malevolent Santa Claus statue. It's humorous, inventive, and constantly surprising. A hidden gem lost among formulaic shooters that deserves recognition for its sheer audacity. The Typing of the Dead, 1999, Sega. Imagine you're playing House of the Dead, but instead of a light gun, your weapon is a keyboard. Sounds absurd and something that wouldn't work, but it does. The Typing of the Dead, unleashed upon Japanese arcades in 1999, is a glorious Frankenstein's monster of a game. Forget blasting zombies with plastic guns. Here, you dispatch the undead horde by accurately hammering out words and phrases on a keyboard strapped to your character's back. The gameplay loop is simple, yet intense. Zombies shamble towards you, each adorned with a text prompt, a single letter, a word, or sometimes hilariously complex sentences. Type it correctly and they explode in a satisfying shower of gore. Fumble your keystrokes and they'll eat your face. The game retains Hot D2's level, cheesy voice acting, and branching paths determined by your performance. Boss fights cleverly adapt the typing mechanic, forcing you to answer questions, type during narrow attack windows, or focus through absurdly distracting prose. Its genius lies in the sheer absurdity of taking itself seriously while being fundamentally ridiculous. The tension of a zombie lunging as you frantically type xylophone is surprisingly real. Initially dismissed as a novelty, The Typing of the Dead became a cult hit, lauded for being both genuinely fun and sneakily educational. Panic Park, 1998, Namco. Ever wondered what would happen if an arcade cabinet encouraged players to physically shove each other? Namco did exactly that with Panic Park in 1998, creating one of gaming's most uniquely chaotic multiplayer experiences. Released on Namco's System 23 board, this party game wasn't content with virtual competition. It demanded literal elbow grease as players battled for control of the cabinet itself. The genius of Panic Park lies in its bizarre control scheme. Two horizontally moving levers, one red, one blue, that slide along the same track across the cabinet's front panel. When players move their handles toward each other, they physically collide, forcing opponents to push against real resistance. This ingenious design translates directly to on-screen action, where characters on roller skates bump and jostle through various minigames. What made Panic Park memorable wasn't just its innovative controls, but its perfect blend of accessibility and competitive spirit. Despite the simple control scheme, the variety of minigames kept players engaged, and the physical interaction added a layer of social fun rarely seen in arcades. The game proved popular in Japan, ranking as the third most popular arcade title in July 1998, according to Game Machine magazine. Dedicated cabinets came with either 33 or 50 sounds monitor, making the game a visual standout in arcade. Though relatively uncommon today, Panic Park remains a fascinating example of Namco's willingness to experiment with physical gameplay long before motion controls became mainstream. Punch Mania, Hokuto no Ken, 2000, Konami. Back when Hokuto no Ken was a cultural phenomenon, Konami unleashed Punch Mania, Hokuto no Ken with an innovative twist that allows you to actually punch your way through the game. Also known as Fighting Mania, Fist of the North Star in the West, this beast wasn't just another fighting game. It was a full-body workout disguised as an apocalyptic brawler. The game's most striking feature was its cabinet design. Standing at an imposing 6'2" tall, the machine featured 6 sturdy orange punching pads with embedded red LED. These pads, when not in use, rested along the inside of the cabinet surrounding a recessed monitor. Players were encouraged to don special black plastic gloves, often chained to the machine to prevent theft, before engaging in digital combat. Gameplay in Punch Mania was deceptively simple, yet intensely physical. As enemies attacked on screen, corresponding punch pads would swing out. When fully extended at 90 degrees, the pad's LEDs would light up, signaling the player to strike. Timing, not strength, was key. The game explicitly warned against punching too hard to prevent damage to both player and machine. Successfully timed punches resulted in blocked attacks and counter-strikes, while mistimed or missed punches left the player vulnerable. Sadly, these cabinets are unicorns today, rumored to have been pulled after a lawsuit from some genius who ignored the glove requirement. While the veracity of this claim is uncertain, it speaks to the game's intense physical nature.
Lives of ordinary citizens.
Police 911, 2000, Konami. Police 911 isn't your run-of-the-mill shoot-'em-up. It's an immersive, kinetic experience that pushes the boundaries of arcade interactivity. Instead of simply gripping a standard light gun and blasting at digital targets, Police 911 takes things to a whole new level by incorporating full-body motion sensing. Yep, that's right. This game literally gets you moving. You stand on a special footpad, and infrared sensors track your every dodge, lean, and duck. It's like stepping into a real-life action sequence where you assume the role of a hotshot cop on the beat, responding to intense, adrenaline-pumping situation. Playing as a Tokyo cop or LAPD officer battling the Gakudo Kai Yakuza, you weren't just aiming a gun. You had to physically squat behind barriers to reload and avoid bullets, lean out to take shots, and shift side to side to dodge incoming fire. Standing still was a death sentence, especially with the constant tick-tock of the timer pushing you forward. Shoot a civilian, your rank drops, losing potential bonuses like extra time or live. Police 911 was a bold experiment, pushing arcade tech into genuinely new territory. The feeling of your character mirroring your physical movements was revolutionary for its time. It was demanding, exhausting, and utterly unique, a true standout in the light gun genre. Samba de Amigo, Sega. Samba de Amigo was an absolute party starter that redefined what it meant to have a blast in the arcade. Released in 1999, this wasn't just a rhythm game. It was a vibrant, infectious party squeezed onto Sega's Naomi hardware. This game demanded you move, shaking specialized maraca controllers high, middle, or low to match on-screen prompts as Latin beats pulsed through the speaker. Forget complex combo. This was about pure, unadulterated rhythm and flair. Players embodied Amigo, a perpetually grinning monkey in a sombrero, whose on-screen antics reflected your performance. Nail the shakes and poses, and the party explodes with dancers and color. Mess up, and watch poor Amigo dance sadly alone. The challenge ramps up, requiring precise timing and occasional stick figure pose matching turning simple shakes into a surprisingly tricky dance. It was instantly accessible, but deceptively hard to master. With its bright South American-inspired visuals, catchy soundtrack, mixing Latin hits with pop, and genuinely novel controllers, Samba de Amigo was an arcade sensation. Its energy was contagious, leading to updated versions, home console ports, and even recent sequels. Dance Dance Revolution, 98, Konami. Dance Dance Revolution was indeed a revolution that merged music, dance, and physical activity into a single, addictive package. Players stood on a dance pad with 4 directional arrows, up, down, left, right, and stepped on them in sync with scrolling arrows on the screen, all to the rhythm of catchy pop and electronic tracks. The gameplay was deceptively simple, yet incredibly engaging. As arrows scrolled up the screen, players had to step on the corresponding arrows, earning ratings or marbles to miss based on time. The game's addictive nature and competitive aspects quickly made it a sensation. Players competing in tournaments and creating their own dances. Beyond its entertainment value, DDR became a fitness phenomenon, praised for its ability to make exercise fun. Its influence extended beyond the arcade, featuring in TV shows, movies, and even inspiring dance exercise programs. The success of DDR revitalized Japan's arcade scene, which had been struggling at the time, and quickly became a cultural staple that would go on to influence rhythm games worldwide. Beat Mania, 1997, Konami. When the arcade scene was dominated by button-mashing titles, Konami decided to try something new and launched Beat Mania, allowing people to live their fantasy of becoming a DJ. This wasn't gaming. It was alchemy. Beat Mania's 5-key controller and scratchable turntable turned players into cybernetic DJs, demanding they reconstruct tracks in real time by hitting notes that were the song itself. Every correct input layered beats, synths, or vocals into the mix. Every miss left the track hollow, like a band missing its drummer. The arcade cabinet became an instrument, and the player, a performer under neon lights, judged by a virtual crowd's approval meter. The soundtrack was a revelation. Gritty techno, pulsing house, and hip-hop grooves that felt ripped from Tokyo's underground clubs. This wasn't background music, it was the game's DNA. Players didn't just chase high scores, they chased the rush of completing a track, of feeling the music course through their fingertip. Beatmania didn't just birth a genre, it spawned a religion. Within months, arcades became makeshift concert halls, with crowds gathering to watch maestros shred through burning heat, or do it right. Its legacy, a seismic shift in gaming, paving the way for Guitar Hero, OSU, and several other titles too. Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, 1993, Sega. Ever stumbled upon an arcade cabinet so rare it feels like a myth? That's Sega Sonic the Hedgehog for you, a 1993 fever dream cooked up by Sega AM3 that yanked Sonic out of his 2D comfort zone and threw him onto an isometric island gauntlet controlled entirely by a trackball. Yeah, you heard right. No D-pad, just frantic spinning, inspired by the classic Marble Madness. It's Sonic, but not as you knew him. The plot's simple. Dr. Eggman nabs Sonic, along with newcomers Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel, trapping them on his latest hazard-filled island fortress. Up to 3 players simultaneously roll their trackballs for dear life, navigating 7 stages packed with environmental dangers like lava, giant gears, and collapsing platform. Forget careful platforming. This is a high-speed dash for survival, with rings replenishing a shared health bar. This arcade oddity marked the debut of Mighty and Ray, long before Sonic Mania Plus remembered they existed, and was the first Sonic game to feature voice acting. Its notorious difficulty and twitchy, unique controls made it a true quarter muncher. Because replicating that specific trackball experience proved too challenging for home consoles, Sega Sonic remains an arcade exclusive, a frantic, fascinating, and largely lost chapter in the Blue Blur's history. Darius, 1986, Taito. Step into any 1986 arcade and you'd hear it. The thrum of aquatic-themed synths, the crackle of laser fire, and the collective gasp of players staring down a 3-screen-wide cabinet that looked like it teleported from the future. Darius wasn't just a shooter. It was Taito's audacious middle finger to convention. A game so massive it required a panoramic display to contain its ambition. Forget spaceships dodging asteroids. Here, you piloted the Silverhawk through neon-lit oceans and cosmic belts, blasting bosses modeled after bioluminescent sea creatures. The gameplay loop was deceptively simple. Red, green, and blue power-ups upgraded your lasers, bombs, and shields, while branching paths after each zone let you craft your own chaotic journey. One wrong turn, and you'd face down a screen-filling crab mech or a laser-spewing anglerfish. The real star? Zuntada's pulsating soundtrack, which fused FM synths with avant-garde experimentation. Tracks like Chaos vibrated the cabinet so hard it felt like the speakers might burst. But Darius's true legacy was its hardware. That triple-screen behemoth wasn't just for show. It immersed players in a sprawling cosmos where danger lurked at every edge. For anyone who appreciates retro shooters, Darius stands as a timeless masterpiece that brilliantly fuses cutting-edge technology for its era with a unique artistic vision. Wonder Momo, 1987, Namco. Arcades in 1987 were temples of flashing lights and synthesized noise, but none prepared players for Wonder Momo, a game that turned the screen into a stage and the joystick into a ticket for the strangest show in town. Here, you weren't saving the world, you were starring in a surreal play where the fourth wall crumbled faster than the enemy's rubber suit. As Momo, a part-time actress turned superhero, players battled aliens and robots during her stage performance. Meanwhile, paparazzi in the crowd snapped photos to catch her in compromising poses, freezing her mid-combo if successful. Building a wonder gauge by defeating foes unleashed her transformation, a whirlwind of boomerang hoops and screen-clearing typhoon, while the crowd cheered. The game's self-aware absurdity peaked with bosses like a fire-breathing T-Rex and a disco-dancing alien, each introduced with dramatic curtain calls. Beyond its campy premise, Wonder Momo played with player agency in ways few games dared. The arcade cabinet's marquee lights and voice samples, shouted in Japanese, immersed players in its theatrical illusion. Decades later, its legacy survives in niche circles, a testament to Namco's willingness to merge spectacle and interactivity when most games were content with high scores. Steelworker, 1980, Taito. In the golden age of arcade gaming, when titles like Pac-Man and Space Invaders were dominating the scene, Taito took a different approach with Steelworker, a unique, workman-like simulation that puts you right into the clanging, grinding heart of a steel factory. Released in 1980, this action puzzle hybrid put players in the role of a chief engineer tasked with building safe pathways for a hapless worker navigating an incomplete bridge. It was a game of precision, timing, and just the right amount of chaos. The gameplay is deceptively simple, yet challenging. Using a two-way joystick and a button, players choose from 10 types of girders to construct the bridge. The worker moves automatically, and it's up to you to ensure he doesn't fall to his doom. Complicating matters are elevators in the middle of the screen that can end his journey if touched. You can reverse his direction with a limited use button, but every decision counts as you race against time to keep him alive. Steelworker stands out for its clever mechanics and its influence on later puzzle action games like Lemming. Its blend of real-time decision-making and reflex-based gameplay made it a unique entry in Taito's catalog. Though overshadowed by flashier titles of its era, it remains a charming example of early arcade ingenuity. La Papa, 1983, Data East. This quirky top-down maze game blends musical charm with classic arcade action, putting players in control of a tuba navigating a maze of staves while collecting musical notes. But this isn't a peaceful symphony. Enemy instruments like cymbals, pianos, and guitars are out to stop you, turning this musical escapade into a chaotic battle for survival. As the tuba moves through the maze, it collects notes that can be fired as projectile to knock out pursuing enemies. Players also have the ability to temporarily turn intangible, dodging attacks but forfeiting their ability to collect notes. Bonus items occasionally appear, transforming enemies into harmless treble clefs that can be gathered for extra points. Once all the notes in the maze are collected, the game advances to a new stage with a different layout. While La Papa didn't achieve widespread fame, its colorful visuals and unique musical theme made it stand out among early 80s arcade games. Mr. Jang, 1983, Kiwako. Amid the neon glow of early 80s arcades, where spaceships and ghosts reigned supreme, Mr. Jang emerged as an unassuming maverick. Kiwako's 1983 release discarded laser and joystick mashing for a cerebral dance of tiles and tactics. Here, Mahjong met mayhem in a grid of sliding blocks, where strategy trumped speed and every move risked collapse. Players guided the eponymous Mr. Jang through labyrinthine grids, shuffling mahjong tiles to form valid hands while evading roaming foes. Each push of a tile could either secure a pung or chow, or crush an enemy into pixelated dust. The scoring system, rooted in traditional mahjong's yaku hierarchy, rewarded foresight over frenzy, appealing to those who preferred puzzles to power-ups. Yet, this wasn't a dry mahjong simulator. The tension arose from balancing tile arrangements with survival as adversaries closed in relentlessly. Later stages introduced erratic enemies and labyrinth shifts, demanding adaptability alongside pattern recognition. A misstep could strand you with incomplete sets, while a well-timed shove might clear the board in a cascade of points. Though overlooked beside era-defining hits, Mr. Jang's fusion of logic and action seeded ideas that later bloomed in games like Lemmings and Bomberman. Its legacy isn't in cabinet queues or high scores, but in daring to redefine what arcade games could be. A quiet revolution, one tile at a time. Splatterhouse, 1988 Namco. Imagine stepping into an arcade cabinet where the atmosphere is as eerie as it is electrifying. A fusion of horror movie suspense and brutal beat-em-up action that leaves your pulse racing and your palms sweaty. This game throws you into a twisted world where every level is a macabre playground of blood, guts, and monstrous adversaries that seem straight out of a midnight horror flick. You are Rick Taylor, a college student resurrected by a cursed mask after a botched paranormal investigation. Your girlfriend? Kidnapped. Your weapons? A meat cleaver, a shotgun, and whatever jagged debris lies in the crumbling West Mansion. The enemies? A parade of fleshy abomination, mutated dogs, faceless surgeons, and a boss that's essentially a sentient uterus birthing monstrosities. This wasn't survival horror, it was survival revulsion. Gameplay thrived on primal feedback. Every swing connected with a wet crunch, enemies bursting into giblets as Rick's mask whispered sadistic encouragement. Levels oozed dread, flickering lights, jump scares, and a soundtrack of dissonant strings and distant scream. The violence was unapologetic, yes, but so was its homage to B-movie tropes. Jason Voorhees' machete, Evil Dead's cabin, Lovecraftian corruption. Banned in regions and debated in gaming circles, Splatterhouse became a forbidden rite of passage. Its legacy isn't just in gore, but in proving games could channel horror's raw ID. Guitar Freaks, 1998. Konami. Amidst the hum of late 90s arcades, where rhythm games were still tapping to beat Mania's pulse, Konami orchestrated a seismic shift. Guitar Freaks arrived not with a whisper, but a power chord. Its 3-button plastic controller cradled like an instrument rather than a peripheral. This wasn't mimicry, it was alchemy, transmuting button presses into the illusion of rock godhood. The setup defied convention, a vertical note highway scrolling toward a target line, each marker demanding precise coordination between colored frets and a strum lever. Nail the sequence, and the groove gauge surged, falter, and the track stuttered like a scratched vinyl. A tilt sensor added theater, rewarding exaggerated poses during wailing bonus notes, a nod to the performative swagger of rock legend. Tracks spanned J-pop anthems and guitar-driven rock, each demanding rhythmic precision rather than musical virtuosity. The cabinet's design leaned into the fantasy. Players stood center stage, fingers dancing across frets as onlookers absorbed the spectacle, while later iterations expanded the roster and introduced drum partnerships. The original's purity lay in its focused vision, a bridge between Bamani's electronic roots and the visceral thrill of live performance. Guitar Freak's legacy isn't merely in inspiring Guitar Hero or Rock Band, but in redefining how games could evoke sensation. It wasn't about playing music, it was about feeling it, a distinction that turned casual players into air-shredding devotees. Battle Circuit, 1997 Capcom. By 1997, the golden age of arcade beat-em-ups was fading, but Capcom wasn't ready to let the genre go quietly. Battle Circuit, their final arcade side-scrolling brawler, wasn't just a send-off. It was a kaleidoscopic celebration of everything weird, wild, and wonderful about the genre. Set in a futuristic world drenched in comic book energy, this game brought together 5 bounty hunters to stop a mad scientist and his gang from unleashing a world-controlling super program. Each of the 5 playable characters, ranging from Cyber Blue, your classic hero type, to Pink Ostrich, a girl riding a giant pink bird, offered unique movesets and abilities. Combat was fast-paced and layered, with players chaining attacks into supers or unlocking new moves via coins collected mid-battle. The battle download mechanic added another layer of strategy, allowing characters to buff themselves or allies with abilities like extra damage or speed. Visually, Battle Circuit popped with vibrant sprites and dynamic animation. From disco hideouts to futuristic highways swarming with enemies like lizard men and jellyfish robots, every stage brimmed with personality. Its humor matched its visual. Villains like Dr. Saturn and his blob-like sidekick felt straight out of a parody sci-fi comic. Though it didn't make waves in arcades at the time, Battle Circuit has since earned recognition for its creativity and depth. Maze, Flash of the Blade, 2002, Namco. Long before motion controls became commonplace, Namco's Maze, Flash of the Blade brought the thrill of wielding a katana to arcades in 2002. This first-person hack-and-slash game didn't just put players in the shoes of a samurai, it handed them a motion-sensitive replica sword and challenged them to master precision and timing against hordes of undead enemies. Powered by Sega's Naomi hardware, Maze was a bold experiment that blended cutting-edge technology with visceral gameplay. The story follows a warrior wielding Lightbringer, a holy blade tasked with purging the land of abomination created by Soulstealer, an evil sword that corrupts its user. Players slash through skeletal samurai, headless foes, and monstrous bosses across 3 stages. The game's electromagnetic tracking system mirrored every swing and parry with remarkable accuracy, allowing players to block incoming attacks and deliver devastating counterstrike. Hidden items and alternate paths rewarded exploration, while successful parries added depth to the combat. Despite its innovative design, Maze struggled with accessibility due to its bulky cabinet and high production costs, limiting its reach outside major arcades. Yet its influence is undeniable. Years ahead of the Nintendo Wii or Kinect, it showcased the potential of motion sensing gameplay. Mushi Hime-sama, 2004, Cave. In 2004, Cave redefined the bullet hell genre with Mushi Hime-sama, Bug Princess, a visually stunning vertical shooter that swapped spaceships for bugs and turned arcade cabinets into anxiety machines. Set in a lush, Miyazaki-esque world where forests hum with colossal insects, you play as Riko, a 15-year-old royal riding her beetle pal Kiniro to save her village from a toxic miasma by confronting the god of the buggy underworld. At its core, Mushi Hime-sama is about navigating intricate bullet patterns that fill the screen with mesmerizing precision. With 3 difficulty modes, Original, Maniac, and Ultra, the game caters to both newcomers and masochistic veterans. The scoring system rewards risk-takers. Collecting amber gems from defeated enemies and canceling bullets creates high-stakes moments where survival and score maximization collide. The game's signature slowdown during dense bullet waves offers brief reprieves but demands razor-sharp focus as the action snaps back to full speed. Manabu Namiki's ethereal soundtrack perfectly complements the lush visuals, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that sets Mushi Hime-sama apart from its peers. Its influence extended beyond arcades, with ports to consoles and PCs ensuring its legacy as one of Cave's most beloved titles.
Loving Dead, The House of the Dead.
Loving Dead's The House of the Dead, X, 2009, Sega. If you take the visceral horror of the House of the Dead series and inject it with a romantic backdrop and goofy humor, you'll get Loving Deads. This arcade-exclusive title followed Zobio and Zobiko, 2 zombies in love, as they attempted to escape captivity and shuffle off into the sunset together. Equal parts romantic comedy and light gun shooter, it was a quirky reimagining of the franchise that leaned heavily on cooperative gameplay and humor. Unlike its predecessors, Loving Deads was structured around a series of mini-games rather than traditional on-rails shooting. Players used light guns or foot pedals to complete challenges like shooting apples into baskets, hammering nails to board up doors, or stomping spiders in rhythm-based sequences. The game's mechanics encourage teamwork, with each player's progress represented by long zombie hands reaching toward one another. Success meant bringing them together. Its whimsical tone was amplified by a colorful art style and a soundtrack that felt more playful than menacing. Despite its unique approach, Loving Deads was never released outside Japan and Europe, making it a rare find for fans of the series. While it didn't achieve mainstream success, its offbeat charm remains a curious footnote in the House of the Dead's legacy, a love story told through the lens of undead absurdity. Kosa-date Quiz, My Angel, 96, Namco. Amid the cacophony of 90s arcades where fighters clashed and shooters blazed, Namco quietly introduced a cabinet that demanded not reflexes, but empathy. Kosa-date Quiz, My Angel transformed trivia into an emotional journey, tasking players with raising a virtual daughter from infancy to adulthood through a series of multiple-choice questions. Correct answers funded her upbringing and shaped her personality. Mistakes strained your bond, risking a premature game over. The game's structure mirrored life's milestone. Early stages focused on toddler care, choosing toys, handling tantrum, while later phases tackled school exams, career choices, and marriage prospect. Personality traits like studious or rebellious emerged based on decision, unlocking unique story beats. A zoo trip gone awry, a phase of cryptic teenage poetry, even a baffling cult recruitment subplot. Test stages ratcheted tension, demanding perfect scores for critical moments like high school entrance exam. While the title may not have garnered widespread acclaim in the competitive arcade market, its unique focus on parenting and lifestyle content sets it apart as a curious piece of Namco's experimental lineup. It caters to an audience looking for a change of pace from the typical adrenaline-driven experiences found at the arcade. Uchu Daisakusen, Chocovator, Contactee, 2002, Namco. Beneath the glow of early 2000s arcade marquee, Namco's Chocovator, Contactee beckoned players into a world where UFO folklore collided with toy marketing. This wasn't just a game, it was a playful deconstruction of Japan's obsession with extraterrestrial myths. Tied to the Chocovator chocolate-encased alien figurine, players assumed the role of otherworldly beings, reenacting tabloid-worthy abduction scenarios through bite-sized challenges that blurred parody and participation. 4 randomized mini-games per session drew from documented paranormal incidents, each reimagined with tongue-in-cheek irreverence. One moment, your angelic aliens sabotaging a grandmother's Christmas decor, inspired by a 1979 sighting. The next, you're implanting neural devices as a gray while humans squirm. The Flatwoods Monster Stage turned West Virginia's infamous 1952 encounter into a chaotic abduction spree, complete with pixelated screams. Success hinged on precision, with scores graded on accuracy and speed, while leaderboards tracked prowess across individual games and full runs. One standout feature was its internet ranking system, where players received passwords to input scores on a dedicated website, Abduction JP. Though the site was discontinued in 2003, this novel mechanic added an extra layer of engagement. While overshadowed by Namco's flagship titles, Chocovator, Contactee remains a time capsule of Japan's UFO craze and toy-driven media synergy. Crazy Climber, 1980, Nichibutsu. Crazy Climber, released by Nichibutsu in is one of those seminal arcade titles that helped define the vertical scrolling genre while challenging players with its simple yet maddening gameplay. With dual joysticks controlling each arm independently, scaling buildings became a tense ballet of coordination, a mechanic as novel then as it remains today. The objective? Ascend 4 increasingly perilous towers while evading relentless aerial assault. Flower pots plummeted from windows, construction beams swung recklessly, and rogue birds dive-bombed with eggs. Even King Kong made a cameo, slamming shut windows to block progress. Reaching the rooftop helicopter offered fleeting triumph before the next, taller structure loomed. Though overshadowed by contemporaries like Donkey Kong, its DNA persists in games emphasizing verticality and environmental interplay. Crazy Climber not only entertained, but also pushed players to master its escalating difficulty, cementing its reputation as a true test of nerve and dexterity. Ikaruga, 2001, Treasure. Released in 2001 by Treasure, Ikaruga redefined the shoot-'em-up genre with its innovative polarity system and minimalist design philosophy. A spiritual successor to Radiant Silvergun, this vertical shooter combined fast-paced action with puzzle-like mechanics, creating a cerebral yet thrilling experience that demanded precision, strategy, and nerves of steel. At the heart of Ikaruga is its unique black and white polarity mechanic. Players can switch their ship's polarity at any time, absorbing bullets of the same color to charge a devastating homing laser or dealing double damage to enemies of the opposite polarity. This system turns traditional bullet dodging gameplay on its head, forcing players to balance offensive and defensive strategies while navigating intricate bullet patterns. The scoring system further deepens the challenge, rewarding players for chaining kills of the same color in groups of 3, a mechanic that requires expert memorization and split-second decision. Developed by a team of just 4 core members, Ikaruga is a testament to Treasure's ability to innovate within established genre. Its blend of elegant mechanics, stunning visuals, and philosophical undertones has earned it a reputation as one of the greatest shoot-'em-ups ever made. Penguin-kun Wars, 1985 UPL. Amid the clatter of 1985 arcades, where joysticks mostly guided spaceships or fists, UPL's Penguin-kun Wars reimagined competition as a kinetic animal-fueled duel. This underappreciated gem transformed a simple ball-tossing premise into a cerebral scramble where strategy and reflexes collided. Players chose from an anthropomorphic roster, a determined penguin, a sly raccoon, a stoic panda, to engage in dodgeball, a sport blending dodgeball's aggression with billiards' tactical ricochet. The rules were disarmingly direct. Clear your side of the table by hurling balls at your opponent, or outlast them in sudden death overtime. Yet beneath this straightforward premise lurked strategic depth. Knocking out rivals with well-aimed throws created openings to flood their territory, while shifting barriers introduced mid-match, forced adaptive play. Bombs and tiebreakers escalated tension, rewarding calculated risks over mindless aggression. Visually, the game embraced playful absurdity. Vibrant colors contrasted with the intensity of matches, and character animation, like the penguin's determined waddle or the raccoon's smug grin, injected humor into every volley. While not as widely recognized as some contemporaries, Penguin-kun Wars remains a charming example of 1980s arcade innovation, offering a unique blend of action and strategy that continues to entertain players. Miki, 1984, Konami. Released as Shinyushin Torukun in Japan, rebranded to avoid school violence controversies, and high school graffiti internationally, this labyrinthine chase through scholastic chaos tasked players with collecting love letter hearts while dodging authority figures in a volatile ecosystem of teenage defiance. Players navigated Miki through 5 stages: classroom, locker room, cafeteria, dance studio, and football field, each demanding tactical aggression. To claim hearts, Miki displaced classmates via hip checks or shattered lockers with headbutts, toned down to shouts in censored version. Pursuers like sweat-drenched teachers, janitors, and chefs escalated the frenzy, requiring split-second reversals. Basketballs hurled in locker room, roasted chickens tossed in cafeterias. What sets Miki apart is its charmingly cartoonish presentation and that unmistakable 80s attitude. The characters and settings are drawn with a playful, almost exaggerated style that adds humor and personality to what might otherwise be a standard side-scrolling beat-em-up. Miki not only paved the way for more elaborate beat-em-up titles, but also holds a special place in arcade history for its unabashed portrayal of youthful defiance and its simple, addictive fun. Galaxian, 1990, Namco. Designer Shigeki Toyama was tasked with crafting an experience so immense it would deter imitation while flaunting Namco's 3D prowess. The result was a circular theater housing a 28-player cooperative rail shooter, a communal starship defense simulation years ahead of its time. Participants took gunner positions aboard the Starship Dragoon, their shared objective: annihilate the planet-destroying superweapon known as the Cannon Seat. Piloting was automated. The focus was purely on coordinated defense. Players aimed colored cursors, unleashing lasers against waves of polygonal enemies superimposed over cinematic laserdisc video background. Success hinged on teamwork, as all players drew from a single, dwindling energy bar. After its Expo 90 showcase and residency at Namco's Wonder Eggs theme park, more modest 16 and 6-player versions trickled into specialized arcades, but the magic was in the OG's grandeur. Today, the gargantuan Galaxian installations are exceedingly rare, sought after by collectors and preservationists as artifacts of a unique moment when arcade gaming aimed for monumental, shared spectacle. Derby Owners Club 2000, Sega. Launched around the turn of the millennium on the Naomi platform by hitmaker Sega AM3, Derby Owners Club wasn't just about pushing buttons. It was about nurturing a digital life, from lineage selection to the finish line. Participants assume the complex mantle of breeder, trainer, jockey, and owner, guiding a thoroughbred's entire career within a connected ecosystem of dedicated consoles. The journey began with choosing a sire and dam, creating a unique foal whose destiny players shaped through hands-on effort. Training involved a menu of interactive minigames, honing specific stats like sprinting power or cornering agility. Feeding choices further influenced development, fostering a bond tested after each race through multiple choice questions about the horse's preferences. Wrong answers strained the relationship. Racing itself unfolded on large, central screens visible to all, with players using whip and rein controls on their individual satellite stations to execute strategies against rivals, both human and AI. While a significant hit in Japan, altering arcade pricing and play duration norms, its reception in the West was more complex. Despite strong initial testing, the expensive, large cabinets and deep simulation proved a harder sell to casual audiences. Eventually, the groundbreaking MCRD system was phased out due to players discovering methods to illicitly manipulate card data. Still, Derby Owners Club stands as a landmark arcade experiment, successfully merging intricate simulation with compelling social competition.
Ready? Go!
Start driving, honey!
Okay, but don't freak out on me.
Crazy Taxi, 1999, Sega. Launched in arcades via Hitmaker in 1999, this game wasn't about winning races, but about maximizing earnings against a ticking clock, transforming the mundane taxi ride into a high-octane dash across sprawling, San Francisco-inspired cityscapes. Players selected one of 4 distinct drivers: Axel, BD Joe, Gina, or Gus, each commanding a cab with unique attributes, then hit the streets to grab fares. The core loop involved scooping up pedestrians clamoring for rides and delivering them to destinations indicated by a large overhead arrow, all while the timer relentlessly drained. Speed was paramount, with cash bonuses awarded for swift deliveries and near misses, crazy throughs with traffic. Mastering stunts like the forward-thrusting crazy dash, the tight-turning crazy drift, and the physics-defying crazy jump off ramps was essential not just for tips, but for survival, as quick deliveries added precious seconds back to the clock under arcade rules. Failure meant the customer leaping out unpaid. Built on the Sega Naomi platform, the game presented an open environment, a significant departure for arcade design at the time, allowing players freedom to find shortcuts or simply explore. This was complemented by a high-energy soundtrack featuring bands like The Offspring and Bad Religion, and real-world business placements like KFC and Pizza Hut serving as destinations, adding a layer of contemporary realism. Virtual On Cyber Troopers, 1995, Sega. Built on Sega's Model 2 hardware, this 3D mecha combat title combined the precision of twin-stick controls with the adrenaline of fast-paced arena battles, creating an experience that felt more like piloting a giant robot than playing a video game. Players piloted one of 8 Virtuaroids, towering humanoid mechs armed with lasers, missiles, and melee weapons across sprawling 3D arena. The twin-stick setup was revolutionary. Pushing both sticks forward sent your mech charging ahead, pulling them apart launched you skyward, and twisting them allowed for rapid pivots and strafes. The gameplay blended elements of fighting games and shooters. Matches were one-on-one duels, where victory depended on depleting your opponent's energy bar while dodging their attacks in real time. Each Virtuaroid had unique strength. Temjin balanced offense and defense, Fei Yen excelled in speed, and Raiden delivered devastating laser blasts at the cost of mobility. The arenas themselves added complexity, with obstacles to hide behind and elevation changes that encouraged dynamic strategy. Though its twin-stick controls made it challenging for newcomers, Virtual On became a cult favorite in Japan and abroad, spawning sequels like Oratorio Tangram and influencing countless mech games. Magical Truck Adventure, 1998, Sega. Magical Truck Adventure wasn't just about reflexes or button mashing. It was a physical, cooperative journey through fantastical world powered by levers, pedals, and pure determination. This rare gem combined the charm of a storybook with the exhilaration of a race against time, making it one of Sega's most inventive creation on the Model 3 hardware. The game follows Alma and Roy, two young adventurers chasing down villains who've stolen a magical stone capable of warping time and space. Players control a hand-powered rail cart by pumping levers to propel forward while using pedals to dodge obstacles or jump over gaps. The cabinet's unique design added resistance to the control, turning each action into a test of endurance. Coordination was key, especially in two-player mode, where teamwork determined success or failure. What made Magical Truck Adventure unforgettable was its dynamic stages. Players raced through African savannas dodging rhinos and crocodiles, plunged underwater to evade sharks, and even navigated futuristic cities filled with lasers and flying cars. Each level offered branching paths, allowing players to choose between safer routes or riskier ones with greater reward. Despite its innovative design, Magical Truck Adventure remains one of Sega's rarer titles due to its large cabinet and niche appeal. But for those lucky enough to experience it firsthand, it's remembered as a thrilling blend of physicality and storytelling. Quiz & Dragon, 92, Capcom. Quiz & Dragons was born from Capcom's desire to leverage its CP system hardware with a unique genre mix, aiming to elevate the standard arcade trivia game into a more captivating fantasy adventure with RPG touches. Set in the kingdom of Capconia, players selected one of four archetypal heroes: fighter, wizard, Amazon, or ninja, each possessing unique abilities beneficial for the trials ahead. Their quest involved traversing game board-style maps by rolling a die, aiming to thwart the villain Gordian, who had empowered fearsome dragon with knowledge-based defenses. Movement across the map led to various encounters. Landing on enemy spaces initiated quiz battle, where correct multiple-choice answers damaged the foe, while incorrect responses depleted the player's health. The number of questions required corresponded to the enemy's strength. Other spaces offered respite or assistance. Inns provided health recovery upon answering a single question correctly, and elves granted temporary boons like reducing answer choices or allowing category selection for the next quiz, again contingent on a correct answer. Although not as widely celebrated as some of Capcom's blockbuster hits, Quiz & Dragons carved out a dedicated niche among players who appreciated its innovative blend of genres and its willingness to defy conventional arcade norms. Magical Drop 3, 1997, Data East. Unlike contemporary puzzlers focused on gradual block stacking, Magical Drop 3 demanded nimble fingers and split-second decision-making as players controlled tarot-themed characters at the bottom of the screen, frantically grabbing and rearranging colored bubbles to create vertical matches of 3 or more. Building upon its predecessors, Magical Drop 3 introduced several system refinements that accelerated gameplay. Most notably, a third button allowed players to strategically add rows to their field at any time, creating opportunities for devastating chains or overwhelming opponents. The attack patterns became character-specific, with each sending disjointed columns to adversaries that reflected their tarot personality, a touch that added both strategic depth and visual flair to competitive matches. Beyond the standard puzzle mechanics, Magical Drop 3 introduced Magical Journey, a board game adventure mode where players raced computer-controlled rivals to reach the Empress, participating in mini-games along the way. This edition, alongside the Versus mode for 2 players, expanded the game's appeal beyond traditional arcade puzzle offering. The game found commercial success, ranking as the 3rd most popular arcade title according to Game Machine magazine's April 1997 issue. Critics praised the game's addictive quality, with many highlighting its strategic depth and responsive control. Moreover, this title also enjoyed remarkable longevity through numerous re-releases across platforms. Marvelous verdict. On paper, outlandish games like Bunga Bunga or Loving Deads seem like they would never work. Still, somehow, the Japanese arcades managed to turn these obnoxious concepts into fun, engaging experiences that defined the lives of young arcade goers, sparking a love for gaming and inspiring a generation to embrace chaos and weirdness. So, which of these games sounds the wildest to you? Let us know in the comments, and if you crave more deep dives into gaming's quirkiest corners, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more blasts from the past.